I built Dareth's apartment from Ninjago Season 8. Sons of Garmadon. This build is completely compatible with all the other sets. Starting with the canals, I started with a base outline to give me a rough idea of where I wanted things to be, added some plate to add texture to the water, and then tiled it all off. Added some rocks and the concrete base. I added a small pier to the back, a bridge, and some support pillars. This first build is very simple with just a brick base and medium nougat. I added some texture to the back and it's just a very small, simple little tea shop. This second build is very small. Just like we see in the canals, I decided to add a wooden walkway. So it just has a staircase to the second floor and it's a small reading nook. The second story to this building continues with that olive green. I kid you not, these windows by far took me the longest to make. They took hours. Inside there you can see just a little something special.
Look! Another Kai doll!
A loyal Kai fan. You also have a bed and a small dresser. This next building is just a really quick small fishing shack with just a small window to sell their fish products and then some crates. The second story to this build is super small and compact. I was just barely able to fit a desk in there. It has some things on it that a sea captain might use. You see lots of lanterns in the canals, like lots and lots of lanterns, so I added some. Moving on to the streets of Ninjago City, I decided to give this a really good strong Technic base and really tried to capture the angled entryway for the first floor of Dareth's apartment. Made some very simple interior rooms on either side. They were very small. For the yellow building to the right, I decided to keep in line with the Ninjago City set, so the first floor is a comic book store. Inside you have Mother Doomsday's desk. There's a massive poster of Fritz Donegan, a rack to hold some comics, and that little gun that we see with Jay here.
Adorable.
On this top section, you see the Realm Crystal, which Moro uses to summon the Preeminent. For the gray building to the left, I just tried to give it the overall shape that it had, because it's very unique. For the base, I tried to create it to line up with the Ninjago City Garden set. I then built up the road and sidewalk using a very similar technique seen in the other city sets. I personally extended it to add the road just like seen in the show, and added those big advertisement signs. For the second story of that yellow, it just has that tree coming out the front, so I decided to turn it into just a little garden. The second story of the apartment building turned it into a seating area. It has these very revealing grand windows. The second story of the gray building is super small. I was just barely able to capture the look of that window. Moving on to the final level. For the third story of Dareth's apartment, very difficult to create. You have those fun little machines sticking out, so I decided to turn this into like a laundry room. There's even a small comfy little area for you to sit back and relax. Continuing on with this yellow building, I loved using these curved pieces for that roof. Just like in the Ninjago City set, this third story is an apartment. There's a small fire escape out the back. I made a very simple roof to go on top using plates turned over backwards. And finally, for the most important part, Dareth's apartment. A small rug built into the floor. And this sand green part of the build probably took me the longest to design because my sand green parts are very limited. For the interior, I decided to give it that clean look. There's that great round window that you see Wu sitting at. An actual fold-down bed. And you've got the couch and the TV there. There's a super long hallway with some pipes at the back where you see Garmadon fighting Misako and Nia. Super awesome fight scene! Making this gray building was a lot of fun because it has all these super interesting angles to it, and I added in some tan highlights just because I didn't want the building to be all gray. And I love the sand green piece. There's a very interesting technique there using the old wagon wheel for the sign. For the 5th floor of the apartment building, it's very short. I loved adding the glowing sign outside. There isn't much for interior space, so I just added some crates. Tiled off the outside and added some trees. Getting this top sand green section to come together with the parts that I had was so satisfying to be able to get that shape right. I completely tiled off the top with dark bluish gray and light bluish gray and added the roofing using 1x3 jumper plates. I added a small vent and a clothesline and some dishes. And there you have it. This build is complete. It took me several years to design and complete, and I had so much fun doing it. I've wanted to create this build for so long, and I'm so glad I could share it with you guys. I made some very small, simple cars to put in the streets. Now let's put it all together. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I can't wait to see you next time.